choice is all up to you. Too many things, don't know what to do. Speak your mind and you won't get judged. If it kicks off, you won't hold no grudges. What? Come online, come online. CSI, CSI. Come online. CSI. Yeah.
Hello, Salim. Welcome to CSI.
Thank you to have me.
Thank you for having. Hello, everybody, and welcome to CSI, Common Society Issues, the unspoken common society issues. Yes, as we promised that we will be releasing videos weekly, but unfortunately, we can't meet that target anymore. So we will be releasing videos at least twice a month, okay? And that will continue going. So today we have Salim, an old friend of mine. Believe it or not, I met this guy first time about 12, 15 years ago. You know, 12, 15 years ago. And we both did not know this until about 3 years ago, 2.5-3 years ago, when something common and similar brought us up together. Exactly. And it's actually one of my best friends I grew up with, Ali, that linked me up with you again just about 3 years ago.
And it was also Ali who introduced her about 10, 12 years ago, like, yeah, something like that. And I completely forgot about that. And I remember you sent me the picture. We were like, we both looked a little bit younger.
Random
it's not that we look old, but
I know.
We both
I was just going
much
through
younger.
random photos, and I was like, "Is that Salim in the background?" When me and Ali were breakdancing.
Yeah, exactly. I remember that day actually.
Yeah. And I was like, I must have met you 10 years ago, 15 years, and I didn't even realize that was you. And now we're close just from the last 2-3 years.
And I think we didn't recognize each other because it's about more than 10 years ago, and we're a different person. We were younger, but now we like all went through manhood, you know, like proper manhood, like with a relationship and things like that. So for that sense, I think we didn't recognize each other. We were like really different, but it was good to see that the picture of me younger and with you, like it was a great thing. So good to see you again.
Good to see you again, yeah. And we haven't seen now for almost a year since the last time we had a conversation at the last meeting and stuff like that. So when we met 3 years ago, why did we meet? If we want to say this to the public now, so the people can know what brought us closer again together.
Exactly. Well, we met for the reason that I went through child abduction. My ex-partner, she took my daughter in her original country, and I had to go through that. So I was dealing with this on my own at the beginning, you know, with the solicitors and everything, and not much things was moving at the time. So I had the petition that I made, which was a great thing. So I could explain everything on the petition, everything I was going through, which was good also for me because I could reflect on this as well and think better. But I could explain to even some friends. Most of my friends didn't really know what I was going through, so I could explain to my friend and a big part of my family what I was going through. So when Ali, our friend, saw the petition, he was thinking about you right away. Because you also have a similar experience in the matter of splitting with someone that you have kids with.
Correct. Yes.
So you reach out to me, and I didn't spend much time before calling you back right away. You know, after the petition, it did so good to me to write everything I was going through that I was really active. So like I think after a week, we met in Dublin and we could talk about that. But then, as you said, it was 3 years ago, and a lot of things happened in those 3 years. Plus, also, I think also what linked to that situation, the child abduction, it's quite also a lesson.
Yeah, we're going to go into that in a moment now. So what Salim is trying to say there basically is about, you know, single parent. We're both single fathers at the moment, and we were going through issues, and this has become a menace in our society today, and especially in Ireland. Basically, he grew up in Dublin, Ireland. I grew up in Dublin, Ireland, and we're both going through similar issues then, you know. And
I arrived at 26 at Dublin. I was 26, but I've been here 12 years already.
12 years,
and 20 for you, 20 years, 20 plus. 20 plus. 22
years for me. 12 years.
Exactly.
You know, so this has become a menace in our society today, where we see, like, you know, many men are going through these issues, and not only men, women too as well. You know, because we're not saying all women are bad in this instance or this case. There's a lot of women out there that are just, you know, being single mother, not out of their own wish or stuff like that happens. So we're here to discuss this kind of issues and this type of issues. And you know, about 3 years ago, This was when I began the journey of trying to set up common society issues and setting up a platform to actually talk about issues like this, that we can educate ourselves and where we can all learn from these issues and, you know, talk about problems like this, because there's no platform in right now that's actually talking about common issues like this, and it's affecting a lot of people mentally in many ways, you know. So my good friend, my best friend Ali, actually introduced you to me back then about 3 years ago, because he thought like, okay, Salim would be a good example to come on the platform and share his story. So I reached out to you about 3 years ago. Then I was actually still a little bit depressed. I was still just coming out of my depression back then, you know, thinking, how can I fight this? How will I be able to help my kids, you know, with this issue, you know? And this was when I began my journey. I met up with Salim then, and instantly you believed in my dreams and my goals, you know, from 3 years ago up until now. I'm actually having the time to sit down with you for the first time, televised, you know, on a camera for the first time. Why did you believe so much in me 3 years ago that I can actually make this happen and do this? And you waited 3 years for this moment.
Yeah, well, actually, from the beginning, like, I believe about you. And when I see you in your journey, I believe about what you do and what you're still doing. And it's quite inspiring, because you did something because you try to help people. I mean, sometimes I understand that we can't do much about ourselves because difficult things, and sometimes we depend to the justice law and things like that, and it's complicated. But sometimes in the meantime, when you decide to help other people, it's good for ourselves, it's good for the community, and it's really, so that's what you were doing, and that's why I found it very inspiring. And also I saw you developing a project, and I thought like it looks quite clean and quite professional. So I liked it. I liked it, your energy, and I wish I would have the same energy myself, but I was going into different things, like, which is I try to help myself. And I try to help other people, because I don't know if you experience that, but when you go through that kind of trouble, you know, all of a sudden you look around and you met plenty of people who have the same trouble. It's something that you can recognize when you don't go through. Yes. But when all of a sudden you, for example, you are a victim of abuse from your partner, all of a sudden you look around and you can recognize very quickly the people who was also going through that. So I meet a lot of fathers myself, all around me, who go through that. Sometimes I can advise them, sometimes I can't. But I have more than 3 years experience into that, because my daughter gonna turn 6 years old. It's been 6 years that I struggle with that thing. So I went through so many phases, and when I met other father, I can advise them, help them if they, and even some women. You were talking about that when we talk about abuse and toxic relationships. Yeah. I even met some women, and especially thinking about that woman was going exactly through the same type of abuse I was going through.
Wow.
You know, and the same system, because those abuse started the same way it started for me. So it was a young little lady, and she was, and I was much bigger than her. I was a man, and weird enough, we had the same situation. And
I thought women had more power when it comes to, you know, the policies and stuff like that.
Because actually what we forget is like all those abuse, and when we talk about the physical abuse, verbal abuse, psychological abuse, they always started actually the other way around, like psychological abuse, and it starts very slowly, and when the person is broken in her mind, they start verbal abuse. When the verbal abuse works, then they go into physical abuse, and it works the same way. So it worked that way for me in my past, and it worked that way for her. I think she had a hard time because her ex-boyfriend was also a big guy, and my ex-partner was a little lady. So for her, it was hard to understand that we were actually going through the same things. Because think about that, a woman or a man, but a woman for that matter, who's strong in her mind and sure about herself. As soon as her partner do something wrong, she will protect herself and sue that abusive men very quickly, you know. So when you say the law is usually more understanding, which is not true actually in my experience. When I went to not lodge complaint, but protect myself in court, I was being taken seriously. But it's something because of the society didn't recognize the abuse towards men. I thought that the police and the judge wouldn't. But which is not true. They actually recognize that abuse, and I got protected. But she a woman who knows her rights, she will very quickly be taken seriously and very quickly make that abuser his life a hell.
Correct. Yeah.
But for this, she need to not be broken psychologically first. So it does start that way, and I could recognize what she was going through. It was the same thing that I was going through. So he was a friend that I don't see anymore much often, but just an example to see like we can help each other. Even 100%. Men towards women, women towards men, 100%. And we do go through the same abuse. And it does finish also, in case of a man, with physical abuse. And that people have a hard time to realize, but especially when, for example, they know me. I used to compete. I used to be a young athlete. I was boxing, kickboxing. I did different things, and I grew up like quite agile and sure about myself. So people really have a hard time to understand that I could also get beat up. I don't know if my life was in danger really, but I was actually marked. At some point I was marked more often than I was marked in the training. No way. Even though at the time I wasn't training, but when I was training I was like quite safe with the gumshin and the headgear, you know, everything. And when I was in a relationship I ended up like going to work with scratches in my face and pain in my neck and things like that. Was plus marks in my neck, face. What else? Like also mark in my neck because of the pulling, things like that. It's quite surprising, but that's another topic. Like that probably is linked with my daughter's situation in a way, because could explain a few reaction towards me from my ex-partner. Okay. But actually, that's something could be very useful to understand how to react to this situation.
Okay. And now, before we go into deep details about what we're here for today and why we're discussing this, can you tell us a little bit about yourself? You know, where you originated from, where you were born, and you said earlier you've been living in Ireland for 12 years, but people want to know your background, who you are, and why you're coming to this show to talk about this issue, you know? No problem. So please.
I'm soon 38. Okay. I'm born in Lyon in France, but I was like we were living in Italy at the time. So basically, I born in Lyon and I went back with my mother in Italy. Okay. So I lived in Italy.
So is your mom Italian?
No, my both parents are Algerian.
Oh, Algerian.
But they were living in Italy at the time. So I grew up in Italy until 4 years old. Okay. And then at 4 I went to Algeria. I lived in Algeria until 5.5. And I moved in France, and I remember my first birthday, if I'm not mistaken, I was 6 years old back in France. Okay. So then I grew up in France until I traveled here and there, but I grew up in France in Paris until I was 25. Yeah. And when I was 25, I moved to Dublin.
And what made you move to Dublin? What did you see, or why Dublin?
I was first of all I started study graphic designing, and I was like executive graphic designer. And then it didn't work out for me, so I was more like a social guy. I needed another type of job, and I needed a quick income of money because I was living on my own. Okay. So I started barman. And then I improved up to the point that I was going in work in 4-star hotel and things like that. And I was so embarrassed for my English. I was really bad in English. And so when I like quit those jobs, or sometimes actually lost some job, I realized like English is an issue that I have to fix. But I knew that I tried actually to take a class in Canterbury in English for 2 weeks, but take it learning English out of. By the way, I'm sorry for my English. Sometimes it's not 100%, but we're getting there. But the thing is, like, I went to learn English in the class, and that didn't work for me. I knew that I needed to move in a country where we speak only English, and plus I knew that like those jobs, they were like seasonal jobs. So I waited that I finished those one that I have nothing wait for me in Paris to move somewhere. I didn't want London because London is too close, the type of life than Paris. I needed like a countryside, and for me Dublin was a kind of a countryside for me because I was growing up from Paris. So I ended up in Dublin.
Everyone says the same.
It's
like
quiet.
Dublin is quiet. It's good to raise families. It's good to raise children.
It used to
and everything. But I don't know what Dublin has turned into now because we have kids going around stabbing each other and doing all sorts of different kind of shit. Like
Exactly.
And why can we say that now? It's probably one of the reasons why we're here today, because we're talking about fatherless children. This is what they grew up and turn out to be. So we're here to try and talk about these issues in a way that we can find a resolution to it. So if we can resolve this issue, crime can go down.
Definitely.
All these kind of issues can go down in a way. And, hopefully our situation can help these kind of issues. Like
and you and me knows that most of the fathers I speak with in different situations, they especially when they're not married, they see that fatherhood is not respected. Of course, when you're not married, you have to prove that it's your kids, and so the hospital, they usually communicate with the mommy, and they don't talk too much with the father. So you had that strange feeling that when you start to be a father, you're not respected, even though you could be married, but you're not respected as a father in a way like.
I believe this is just the Irish culture. And I don't think even the culture itself sees this. And I'm sorry to say, it's just our culture in Ireland. And I don't think people of Ireland actually sees this, the upbringing of children. And the funny part today is that only foreigners like yourself moving into the country can actually see this and be like, why are there so much power leaning on the female side? Why isn't the power mainly for the kids? Because it's all about the kids at the end of the day. It's not about me. It's not about you. It's not about the women. It's about the growing up of the kids. It's about the kids. What are they going to grow up to turn out to be at the end of the day? When we put our indifferences aside, the issues that we're having as partners, dating and, having a child together, if we put our indifferences aside, the children is the most important factor here. So I don't know when the society in Ireland, here are going to actually realize this somehow,
I think we can, as you said, we can compare with other culture, because we from other culture. I still got raised by my parents who from Algeria, even they're kind of hippies compared to different. But my type of upbringing was really like Algerian. I grew up in France, but I've been raised in different values, and here in Europe in general, being a father is like, I saw that in the movies, like they were describing fatherhood, and in the movie I remember describe fatherhood as being a superhero. So you have to wear a mask, you have to do something like without being recognized, in a way like you do good but you're not expecting any praise. But in a real life, it's hard to take on, like, because you're not only being praised for being a father and do your job, but you on top of that being accused, of being bad, like basically like you're potentially dangerous, like that's how it feels. You're potentially dangerous, like the what they talk about, male toxicity or something that, because you're a man, you're potentially dangerous and potentially bad, and you have to prove every day that you're just harmless and you just want to be a father. And that's how it feels, I think, for a lot of fathers.
It is indeed, it is. And it's really hard to pass our message across,
Exactly.
It's really, really hard to pass our message across. But that message will be passed across over time, and I'm hopeful that a lot of people can learn over time from these issues like this. So going back into this now, can you tell us about you going into a relationship and being a father, and from being a father to how you started encountering problems in your life, because you talk about your child now being taken away from you and stuff like that. I'm sure people want to know, how did it lead up to this?
Yes.
So let's start with how you met your ex-partner, how you met and how everything unfolded and unraveled.
Yeah, I was working in a nice bar in Dublin. At first, it was like bar discotheque. I don't know if I can say hello to them. the Panty Bar. I
Okay,
worked
sure.
at Panty Bar. I worked 2 years for Panty Bar in Keppel Street, and it was a great place. I was still 25, going to 26, so I was quite young, and I had great fun. I met my ex-wife through some friend over there, and we quickly.
You say ex-wife? Did you marry her?
We did got married, but religiously.
Oh, okay.
Not officially. So
not officially.
And I did ask her to marry me. So which is kind of hard to understand, but I did that.
Wow.
It's hard to call it a mistake, but I made that choice at that time. But I met her. No, so of course I met her to the bar. In the bar, we started dating, and very quick she wanted, because she was a bit older than me and she was coming from a divorce. So very quick she wanted us to move together, which was surprising for me.
And how long was this already? For when you started? We
started dating like 2-3 weeks, but I know that 1 month after we were dating, I was living with her in her house and paying the half of her rent and everything. So it went pretty quick. I remember I wasn't sure about it at first, but I follow it. Then I was thinking actually, if it doesn't work, then I'll move again. But you forgot that when you leave your house and you lose a little bit of freedom, because if you have a big group of friends, then if something goes wrong, you can turn and go to your friend and maybe live with them for a little while by the time you find another place, But one thing to remember is when someone is a manipulator and toxic, you lose all your friends. She makes sure, or he makes sure that you lose all your friends. So,
and the funny thing about this is that a lot of people would disagree with you on this, but I 100% agree with you on this, because I have been there, done that. Yeah. And a lot of men that would have been in this type of circumstances as well will probably come out and tell you that, you know what, when I got into a relationship, I lost all my friends. There's some
that's not supposed to happen.
Toxic, yeah. And we need to talk about these issues a lot, because these issues, for example, when you lose all your friends and the lady dump you, you could fall straight into depression because you have no one to fall into. Absolutely. And these things happen quite often. It happens quite often.
And I know some girl where, once again, I told you, they went through the same things. They went through a boyfriend was really possessive, and he strictly said, you got to choose between your friend and me, and they end up losing their friend too. So I mean, really, that system where you start losing your friend and barely talk with your family is when you get I don't know if
because the lady's too much demanding and having too much expectation, and you as the lover boy, you've got to meet our expectation.
Yeah, and it does. I know that situation works in both ways. So it's not typically like a woman would do that to a man, but I know also some women who are victim of that.
100%.
Exactly. Yeah. And in my
also
case,
the abusive man.
Yeah, but it's good to remember because we help each other, you and me. We know we can understand each other because we're both fathers. But I look around me and I know there's a big problem in both, both sex. But so I moved with her, and then I was losing a friend after, and I was to stop doing my activities. I was dancing at the time. So I was in a dancing group performing, when I just met her. So the pressure was so big. So I had before 2010, a deal with her. I had one dancing contest to do, plus 2 shows. And that's how we know Ali used to dance with us. Salsa dancing, so it's a social dance that you dance with the other women. So which is really hard when you have possessive girlfriend or boyfriend. And the thing is, so I had to choose. I had to tell her at some point, okay, I'll finish those things in 2010. I compete and then I stop. Otherwise, I knew that I wouldn't be able to continue my relationship with her. So
especially when it comes to salsa dancing.
Yeah, exactly. That's for some
people.
Women
can't take that.
Yeah, it's hard to understand. Exactly. But it is hard for people to understand that. But I was doing this, and so I stopped seeing my friend, I stopped dancing, and little by little I getting stuck. So all of a sudden, that if you're not doing well, you end up in the street right away. At the time, it was something that would make me scared, because then she would start to being abusive. She was abusive before, but you start meeting her demand, and you think that the abuse would stop, but the abuse was continue. It was first verbal, and then he quickly ended up violent, but not necessarily like she could start breaking things, for example.
Okay.
Or she started, it's not on you, but it's really slowly.
Okay.
So
Can you share a bit of that if you don't mind?
yes.
Because abuse is toxic. And
Yeah.
people want to know what actually leads into abuse. You know, you've said this now. I want to know what led to this or
So
how.
at first was I think a regular things tried to her to make me understand that something was going on. So it could be the dancing, could be. So I was trying to understand and just to comply. Like I tried to stopping dancing, invest more in my couple and things like that. But then when I give up everything, even my job at some point. That's why I was saying where I was working. My job was a problem because I was working too late. I think she didn't like also that even though it's a gay bar, you meet a lot of people. So it was a problem that so I had to give up my job. I give up my job. I give up my passion. I give up a lot of things. And after all those things, she started getting angry and insult me. So the first insult being thrown, I took my stuff and I did manage to leave though. I left the first time, but then she came back, apologized, even promised me she will dance with me. You know, like I will go back dancing, and she promised me like plenty of things. And she apologized, and plus I was there for her to feel better. You know, like I was taking care of her, and when she was crying once again, I was there for her to.
How long was the split when she came back?
The split was about 2 weeks maybe.
Only 2 weeks.
2 weeks, yeah. And then I came back, and I get to meet the parents, so it got better. But you see, it's like, you know, I was thinking about that about yesterday, and I don't know if we can swear. I'm not bad mouth, but I won't.
It's okay. Go on. It's all right.
It's like you are in, and that's the case for a lot of people. That's why I really advise people to break up straight, like not because it's an ocean of shit. You swim in an ocean of shit, and the way what we say in France is people give you drop by drop. So you have your partner give you sometimes drop of clean water to drink, and you go and follow the drop, and then you have to swim again in the ocean of sweat, and they give you drop for you to come back. So basically, all the kindness, all the good things that they can do, is usually by micro dosing for you to stay around, to stick around, you know. So that was the case most of my relationship with her, and is a drop of clear water for you to come. But then one day, in the end, I actually broke up all that ocean of shit. She can't keep the drop of water, and I defend myself, went back to grab a solicitor, start asking for my daughter, and I want the life I was meant.
I think we've gone too far now.
Jump, sorry.
That's what
exactly.
I'm thinking. We shouldn't be talking about daughter yet, you know?
Now,
I'm thinking we haven't got to the part how she got pregnant.
You're right.
How she got pregnant, and where did the daughter come in?
First,
Earlier?
if she came, is because we got married. Otherwise, my daughter would never come. It wasn't an accident.
Oh yeah, you were talking about the marriage earlier, where you say you guys got married, you know, not traditionally.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So the way exactly spiritual. So she was Hindu. She was very superstitious. She had.
Where is she from? I don't think you mentioned that.
Mauritius.
She's from Mauritius.
And they're very superstitious.
And did she go? I'm sorry to cut you off again. How long did she go? How long was she in Ireland before you met her?
Much longer than me. I know altogether it was more than 15 years, because she ended up having the citizenship and everything. So it was more than 10 years when I met her, and altogether was more than 15 years.
She was
15 years.
So and she's partly Irish as well with citizenship.
Absolutely. That was in the end my daughter, when we had my daughter actually. But so basically as I was explaining you the system of job, like being a little bit nice to keep you around, but then make you go through a lot of trouble. It was a matter of one day she say and recognized to me that she had the anger issue, because at the time I was going through not only verbal abuse but also physical, and I know also that a lot of people who go through physical abuse, what happened is like sometime the person who give you the physical abuse regret right away and start crying or start panicking. And I talked with other people. I talked with one girl and another man. Men doesn't talk easily, but the lady was easier to explain what they were going through.
Yo, your choice is all up to you. Too many things, don't know what to do. Speak your mind and you won't get online. CSI, CSI. Come online, come online.